What's up, fam? It's the Sterninator. Today, I am going to be doing some art for a Pokemon that I had the honor and privilege of getting to be a part of a project that incorporates this guy. So, really excited about it. So, the story behind this is that a user on YouTube and Instagram named Happy Gamer Neck, I'll put a link down below, brought together 151 different artists, each one tasked with creating a Fakemon for this region. This region being, of course, the Collabo region. I freaking love that name. So we have all these different artists coming together and getting prompts for what to draw, getting to choose their prompts, I should say, for what to draw. I chose the prompt Earthbender. Honestly, going in with no idea what I was going to do. I ended up doing a lot of research on the design elements of the Earthbending Nation from Avatar The Last Airbender and wanted to use that as some heavy inspiration. So I looked at their armor, I looked at their uniforms, I looked at their suits, and across that series, I do have to say, there are a ton of different outfit styles, more than I was prepared to go through. So I went through, I found some of my favorites, and one that I found in particular was this uniform worn by a couple soldiers. The image is a little blurry, but I love kind of the domed helmet, and you'll see me incorporate that a little bit later, as well as kind of the hanging tassel that goes with a lot of the uniforms. I also love that on the top of these helmets there is this little like stack totem type thing, and I wanted to incorporate that in some way. You can see in my sketch there, I've brought in the symbol for the Earth Nation, which is that circle with the square cut out of it. Almost looks like a yen, and I wanted to incorporate a lot of those things. You can see there I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to incorporate these tassels, how I'm going to bring in some of the uniform elements. I also thought of some of the more iconic uses of earthbending throughout the series. One that I really enjoyed was, I don't know if you recall, there was a scene where someone made hands or gloves out of stone, and they would use those, I believe it was in Ba Sing Se, as almost handcuffs. So they would shoot out these gloves, and they would grapple onto people's arms, and they would re-solidify. And that was something that I remember seeing it in the show and thinking that is a really cool use of that power. So I developed this character here. You can see I kind of changed the head shape to mimic more so those domed helmets. And I wanted to bring in the hands as these big, heavy, like weapon type deals. One of the other aspects of this was that it was going to be a pure rock type. So I had to fight back a lot of urges to make it at first like psychic type, thinking, okay, what is earthbending? Well, it's moving stones with your mind or with your chi or with your ki or what have you. And I had to try to move away from that, keep that from infiltrating its way into the design. Also, I feel like when you create a Pokemon that utilizes rocks in some way, there's a lot of thought, okay, what separates a ground type from a rock type? And if it's not like just a pure rock, how do you separate it from like fighting type? So that was some of the things that I had to struggle with throughout this design. But I think that I found a way to make it feel really organic as well as feeling like it really encompasses that rock style texture. And the other thing is, how does this Pokemon utilize rocks? What makes them different? What makes them unique? And I thought, okay, well, let's think of a backstory for this Pokemon. And I thought it'd be really interesting if it was like a monk type of character. You know, you see a lot of martial arts and discipline being brought up in Avatar The Last Airbender a lot. So I thought, okay, what if it's a monk? And what if we turn that totem type statuette thing on the top of the helmets that I really liked into these balancing stones? And it made me think of the concept of a monk who's training to fight while having to balance not just themselves, but a physical object. So I picture this Pokemon, Sedimite, as I called him, being trained over years and years to fight and balance its own energies. So it can fight while holding these towering rocks on its head. And over the years of it doing so, it actually adapted to be able to shoot out its rock and stony boulder-like arms so that it doesn't have to deflect its actual body. It can use these hands in that way. And that also brings in the element of rock bending, not just shooting rocks out of the ground, but being able to levitate them and move them. And that was always something that I thought was very, very cool about Avatar: The Last Airbender, was the different uses of the bending strategy. So one of my favorite things, and there was the sand benders, and just the idea of like, wow, these guys are earth bending in a place that most people would think doesn't have earth, doesn't have stones, but going out of their way to learn and adapt to the surroundings. So this guy, very much the same way, kind of focusing on keeping those stones on its head stacked, keeping them from falling over, keeping them from getting disturbed, adapted to being able to move its rock like hands separate from its physical body in a way to protect that stack. I don't know if that's making a lot of sense, but it's what was going through my mind when I was devising this character. It also kind of informed those tassels almost like a mark of respect of them passing tests and being able to do that work and perform those efforts and gaining these tassels. Ultimately, wanting to become more and bigger. This is just the first of a multi-stage line. Someone else, another artist, is coming on and taking the reins on the rest of the line. So I wanted to give the hints of that. Like, okay, this is very clearly a very thoughtful and meditative Pokemon. What is that going to look like as it becomes and evolves into a master of those traits? How can that be shown? How can that be brought into the concepts? So you can see here actually when I'm doing this, I'm actually coloring this brown, and much like with a lot of my other designs and concepts and things of that nature, I do start with one idea and it very quickly changes to something else, especially in the polishing process. As I'm, formatting these into layouts and things like that, creating shinies, I'll often come across something and think, wow, actually, this or that looks better than what I had initially thought with this character. And so you'll see we move in the final render, we move drastically away from those browns. I think I wanted to use the browns because that's what color stone is in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Very often it's brown rock, it's dirt clods, it's things of that nature. And as as I became more comfortable with the prompt and as I moved my way through and gained a little bit more confidence in what I was actually making, I felt more free to stray from that color scheme. Excuse me. And part of that was going through and looking at shinies and shiny options and thinking, okay, well, what would this look like if it was like a stony bluish gray color? And I did that and I thought, oh my gosh, I actually like this so much more than what I was going for, and I have the confidence that this will still be seen for its prompt, regardless of color. That I actually swapped over and made what I'm working on now essentially becomes the shiny, and what we see at the end at the final render is what becomes the actual Pokemon, the standard Pokemon, the default coloring. And I'm very happy with it. Very, very pumped that it was able to come out that way. I also found, uh, in the same conversation of confidence with coloring, I found that as I was working on these rocks, I kept thinking to myself, this looks absolutely terrible. This is going to have to all be redone, but whatever, it'll be a learning experience. It'll be on the video and it'll be changed or what have you at the end. It's unfortunate, but it's what's going to happen. Um, but the more that I went over these rocks and the more that I began to utilize the shading in different ways than what I'm used to with these harsher edges, the more that I felt comfortable and the more that I felt kind of in tune with the design elements that I was going for there. And I became a lot more comfortable in accepting that rocks aren't perfectly shaped, and so to have the shadows be mismatched and kind of odd and kind of cutting in and out of these crevices adds to the flavor of the Pokemon rather than taking away from it. And once I was able to see that and take a step back and accept that, I became really happy with the direction of the shading. And I think that even having areas where it was like, okay, well, shadow might not fall that way. Were this a rounded stone, it may fall that way. It makes the stone look like it's been cut into. I started to think, well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with the stone looking like it's been cut into? What's wrong with the shadow making this area look not like what I anticipated? And it was very freeing and very, very cool to be able to, as an artist, kind of take back the reins on what I was creating by giving those reins up. And yeah, it was really fun. I found a really good appreciation for shading rocks that I hope does not awaken something in me that says all rock Pokemon all the time. Only rock Pokemon from this point forward. Only all rock. Only rock. I only want to see rocks. Don't bring it to me if it's not a rock. No, I just felt I felt like I learned a lot with this drawing. And again, huge thank you to the people putting on this collaboration. Huge thank you to Happy Gamer Nick. Don't forget to check out their YouTube and don't forget to check out their Instagram. I believe the intent is once this project is done, this stuff's going to be shared across the various platforms that they have. So you'll be able to see not just my stuff, but a lot of other very talented creators' stuff through those pages. So don't forget to check them out. And yeah, just man, I'm watching this and I'm like, man, this shading is so fun. But yeah, it's a really cool collaborative concept. It seems like a huge project, and one that I am excited and happy to be a part of. I'm just like, man, good on you for having the guts to put this together and contact all these creators. I think it's a really cool project. I love getting to interact with the community in art and getting to be a part of these projects. It fills me with so much joy that there's other people who are into what I'm into and who really put passion towards what is essentially seen on the outside as drawing like children's monsters. No, this is fun, and honestly, drawing Pokemon is how I like decompress from other commissions and art projects and jobs and things like that. So it was a ton of fun, and having the prompt really challenged me in some ways, but was also just a really cool gift in other ways. So a ton of fun, ton of fun. I can't speak enough how much that these projects mean to me, and I think how much they mean to other artists, either for the outreach of what they're doing or for just being able to be part of a community. I just think that's always awesome. I think that there's a lot of positives to being a part of a community of artists and just creators in general. It's for that reason that I went and I touched up my portfolio page recently. Was I want to be able to have something that I can be proud of and show other people in this industry of ours, like, hey, I'm proud, I'm happy of what I'm making, and I want to show it off. And maybe that makes me sound full of myself or like a jerk, but you work hard at this stuff. The least you could do is show people. So, I mean, any artists watching this or listening to me or what have you, I do suggest you get out there and you share what you work on, because you'll find, yeah, you'll get detractors, yeah, you'll get people who are kind of off the wall about it, but you'll also find people who are like, you'll find your tribe. You'll find people who love what you love and do what you do, and that's kind of what matters in life, right? Is finding people who appreciate the stuff that you work on and appreciate the stuff that you're doing. So anyway, here's Sedimite. I'm super proud of this drawing. He's a really cool rock Pokemon. I've kind of given some background on my lore for the character. I gave him a lot of the stats in correspondence to Pokemon such as Roggenrola or Geodude. Kind of this concept of a little rock Pokemon that has a lot of potential. So you can see he has HP, attack, defense 60, 80, 95, special attack 25, special defense 30, speed 40, with a total of 330. All, just nothing crazy, nothing insane, but it is something that can hold up a fight, especially probably in early game. And as you get to late game, where he kind of hits his stride and becomes this master, this earth-bending master, if you will, he's going to be a really big heavy hitter on your team. Let me know what you think. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one.